I could take an example from today, right? So, it's a nice day. I mean, I was enjoying the rain. And then I asked the question, right, to my partner. It's just a question. Hey, what time is this? And then all of a sudden, and then just like all of a sudden, there's all this, oh, I just told you, and I've already told you this 10 times. And there's all of this like defensiveness, is what I'm going to call it. To me, it just sounded like defensiveness. I'm like, hey, I just asked simple questions. Um, and then as that went on, it just made me really, I could see the anger in myself. Like, yeah, I'm really getting frustrated listening to all this. Um, and then, and I'm trying to, and then obviously there's some level of defensiveness coming up in me at that point. Um, and then afterwards, I'm just looking back and I'm like, I'm able to see the anger in myself, and then it passes. And then now I'm in the silence again.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, but it was after that whole, like, I had to basically stop talking, just kind of withdraw.
Hmm.
Um, and then just find a quiet spot and just kind of relax and find the stillness.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then at that point, I'm witnessing myself, you know, seeing the anger that was arising, and then watching the anger just kind of go away.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in that moment, when the defensive comments started coming it was completely out of nowhere. I was completely caught off guard at that point. Um,
That's where there's like
it's
the
like,
strong identification is there,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it comes up, but by seeing it, it's like it loses that power, it loses that stickiness.
and so does it mean that if I keep doing that, right? I mean, the witnessing afterwards, then slowly that time will get shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
That's what's
Yeah,
supposed to
there's like
happen.
that refractory period after basically
Hmm.
shortens, right? Because in that time, that's when there's the identification. The identification is the activity, it's the doing, it's the losing yourself in the character, right? In that
Hmm.
time, the screen, at that time, it's like the screen is non-existent. You completely forget about the screen and there's only the character. That's what happens with that identification.
That's the thing. Like, when does that stop?
When you stop
Right?
believing to be the character, right? Because that's all you know is you're in that time is like you're just the character.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, that's what takes, that's the gradual unfolding of this is seeing that come up more and more. And that's the catalyst of relationships because you see just interacting with your husband, it's bringing up that, and it brings up so much of that, these relationships. It's what speeds up the process.
Mm-hmm.
This process is quickened via the relationship. If you were to just kind of go in some isolation and like a cabin in the woods and just be by yourself, it's like this stuff doesn't come up.
Right.
What's going to make you angry? The mosquitoes? There's no one that can push your buttons. Your husband seems to be pushing your buttons. It's bringing up all of this unconscious conditioning. He's pushing your buttons to get that reactivity out of you. To get that's how
Right.
in relationships how you can push each other's buttons and we know exactly what to push. It's like a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a game.
Right.
He knows what to say. You know what to say. And she's like,
Exactly.
it's just it's this, right?
Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
see,
and it feels like you're failing, like, you know. And then he will even make the comment like, "Oh, you do all the spiritual stuff, Akansha, but look at you.
and then what did you say was
You're
the last
so
sentence?
you just don't have any peace." And
Yeah,
then it's like, yeah, I know I'm failing.
he's your mirror. He's your mirror. In it's there's some truth in that. That this is these the relationships. It's like they put all that to the test. People say like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
meditating," and this, yeah, okay, like test out that meditation because that meditation is like put to the test
Hmm.
in your relationships and your job and life. Let's see, right? Because there's so many people like, oh, I'm so spiritual or whatever, and they're so reactive. It's just reactivity. It's like like it's just not, like I said, it's you could there's one thing to be practicing meditation, eyes closed and so quiet the home and nice comfy couch or cushion that you're sitting on. The real test is life. It's like your job and your family and the kids, and someone cuts you off in traffic, and that's where you're seeing it.
Hmm.
It's like all practice, no results. So that's what you're seeing is then your life is this, there's no separation at that point of this is my spiritual practice and then this is now back to the relationship, back to work. No, like you treat it all. It's all the practice.
Hmm. So the goal is to be unaffected in every situation, no matter
You're never going to
what
be
your
like non,
expectation is.
you're not going to be like nothing can touch you in the sense of there's no reactivity, no rise or anything like that. But it's you're seeing like how you're seeing that reactivity. So the only reason why you're able to see it is because of that awareness of it.
Hmm.
In the midst of it, no, there's no awareness of it. It's like you're only seeing it in hindsight. So that's what I said is that
Right.
refractory period is shorter and shorter. And what you'll notice is you'll kind of want to not escape to escape it, but you'll want to cool off. That you'll find that the relationships, it's kind of like they get heated. There's friction, too much rubbing. He says
Hmm.
something, you say something, you say the wrong thing, you cross the line, and then it's like you pushed them away, or there's an argument, and then there's a kind of a okay, let's part, let's cool off. In that parting, in that cooling off, that's when there's more of this reflection and this processing that you're able to
Hmm.
see, like what button did he press, what was still triggered, what was it that triggered something, because it's he's pushing the buttons that are bringing up repressed emotions. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. That's where the identity is. It's like that's what's making up a lot of the identity, is there's a lot of these repressed emotions that haven't been felt fully yet.
Hmm.
And that's what's so reactive. And that's what's, all of this reactivity and defending and attacking. That's what feels hurt. It's it's like you're making me feel like that. He's not. He's just pointing, like I said, is this the relationship is a blessing. He's helping you to see what's still in you that you haven't seen. So it's more like he's pointing, instead of pushing the buttons, he's pointing the finger saying, you haven't felt that fully. What about that?
Hmm.
What about that? What about, so he's pointing to all the blind spots. So
Right.
that you then see it as, oh, there's some reactivity. We got in a little fight. You cool off, take a walk. And then it's this introspection, this contemplation starts happening. What is it in me that got so reactive there? What am I not seeing? And then you're able to relax in that like cooling off period, that walk or just taking a bath or sitting on the couch or whatever it is, just being by yourself, and it comes up. It comes up because there's a willingness to see. There's an openness to see. It's like you're inviting whatever it is that's hiding to come out from hiding and to be seen. And then there's feeling it fully. So there's what feels like processing the emotions after that kind of incident. And you cool off, but it's a cooling off where you're processing stuff. Because it
Mm-hmm.
might feel like in these situations, like you then feel like, man, I'm so like heavy, like there's a density to it. You might even feel drained, like lethargic, because a lot of this stuff is
Right.
coming up and there's suppression. So then it might feel like I
Right.
just need to, you know, cool off. And when you cool off and go for a walk or take a drive or have a bath or whatever, that's then in this relaxation, all of these emotions are then coming up because they feel kind of like a warm invitation and openness. And now you're feeling them, feeling them, feeling them. And that's what feels kind of like you're um releasing. It feels a lot like you're letting go of the baggage, the burden. You just kind of feel lighter after that walk or lighter after the bath. You kind of feel like, somehow like rejuvenated, refreshed.
Right. And it actually starts repeating itself in my mind, like, like what happened, the event,
Yeah,
he said this, I said this, he said
it
this, I
will
felt
for
this.
it will for a certain
It's
amount of
repeating
time,
itself.
a certain period, and that's superficial is the story.
Mm-hmm.
But by relaxing more, you go you go deeper than the story, because what's deeper than the story is the emotions. The he said, she said type of stuff, that's all surface level.
That's the story. Yeah.
And that's actually the resistance to the feeling. So if that's all you go through and you go and take off, go on a walk or have a bath, it's like it's not relaxing because that's all
Mm-hmm. Right.
activity. But by it actually relaxing, you then feel these emotions without the story because you're relaxing more. So it's like you dive under all of that superficial thought activity, because that's why you can't just get to this stuff through thought. That's why you can't what's the word here, it's just the solution's not in the story. All of that unconscious stuff, it's buried under it, and it's by relaxing that then it's allowing it all to come up more and more. The more and more you relax, the more of all of this unconscious stuff starts basically surfacing. In a way, that's why a lot of people don't like relaxing. That's kind of what happens with meditation. Meditation, it's like use the word meditation for relaxation kind of interchangeably here. But as soon as you start meditating, it's like you're opening up the closet, like all the skeletons come out. You're experiencing the darkness, all the stuff that's been repressed. And a lot of people, it's like too much to handle. So it's like, no, wait, I don't want, forget relaxing. Last time I did that, I don't want to deal with that. No way. So it's just more and more suppression. So in this relaxation, there's like what feels like, okay, there's an opening. I'm open to seeing what's here, whatever that may be. And in seeing it, there's an acceptance of it.
Right. And if you don't process in meditation, then it comes up in your dreams.
100%. Yep. Yep. Yeah. You
You
start,
can't really escape it.
That's basically it. Yeah. Whatever is being repressed, it comes out one way or another. It's gonna come out.
Hmm.
It's gonna come out. It just it just comes out, and it just comes out more and more distorted.
Right. And then the more distorted, like if it comes up, like I've seen that happen, like sometimes if I'm not able to meditate because there's too many thoughts, then um then I see that stuff come up in my dreams.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
then it's like
Dreams.
you
That's why you
process it
can't
that way.
that's why you can't suppress anything. Like everything just
Hmm.
wants to be expressed naturally. Expression is natural. It's like how some people, they'll suppress their sexuality, and then like they're like perverted. Like they're just, you hear, these are the stories you hear in the news and stuff. It turns into that. It just, like I said, it comes out one way. They're like, then they become like a rapist or something. It comes out. It's anything that you're suppressing. It feels like there's like a buildup of it. And then it's just like, I gotta come out. And a lot of people, it's like awakening is like a rude awakening, because there's a lot of like anger. But you can see the
Hmm.
conditioning is like, growing up and mom saying like, don't get angry, don't yell, sit quiet, shut
Right.
your mouth, sit still. Like it's just stop, 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 no, no, no. So then there's no expression of that anger. And it's like it's socially incorrect to then express that anger. So there's always like this push it down, push it down, push it down. And if there's no outlets, I mean, like physical activity is a pretty good outlet. But if there's no outlets to express that anger, you're not able to journal, you're not able to sing, write music, something like any form of expression gives it an outlet. But for one that hasn't given it an outlet, it's like rage that comes out. And it's just like, just someone has to just say the I'm gonna say the wrong thing, the right thing. It's like they just push your buttons. It's like that's the last straw. So this is something. Shame is another big one. Grief, like some, it could be past breakup, past divorce, losing a loved one 5 years ago. It's like stuff that just hasn't, you can just write it off as say stuff that just hasn't been processed fully. And this is where it's like this suppression is like, it's, how people say like trauma is stored in the body. It's this suppression. All of this tension. But it's this by relaxing and allowing, the expression is is actually effortless. That's why some people, now that there's more and more relaxation, they find that they just cry for no reason here and there. But it's just another release, right? Like this, the crying is a release. It's not bad. Like it's just, you have to
Hmm.
you have to drop the good or the bad or the right or the wrong or what's acceptable and inacceptable. All of that, that's should and shouldn't. All of that is that suppression activity. Yeah. So so yeah, it's like I said, it's difficult. Like you're definitely like in it. You're going through it. But also like your attitude can be helpful in this. Sometimes we develop this kind of attitude where it's like, you start hating your partner or sort of deal because they're just, a mirror. They're just showing you, they're pushing your buttons and stuff. So it's very easy to point the finger and blame and stuff, but it's, a different mindset to that is, they're helping. If you can be open to maybe your partner is your teacher,
Hmm.
right? It changes, just that shift changes a lot.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think once once the cool off period, comes around and kind of like, yeah, you know, I should listen more. I should be less reactive. Try to be a listener. He's right, just do what he said, you know. Um, but yeah, it's that once you start relaxing and start cooling off, then you start realizing those things.
Yeah, with that introspection, with that self-reflection, it's like you have the experience that like you're getting to know yourself more and more. But all these things that you're kind of, pushing down and kind of hiding and tucking in a dark spot, it creates this like schism. There's like part of you that's hiding from the other part that judges it and deems it unacceptable.
Hmm.
So that's why I said is like when
Yeah.
there's the relaxation of this like, you know, blaming and judgment and criticism, that's like one half that's then criticizing and judging and condemning the other half. Well, when that activity then relaxes, then this other part says, oh, like, the judge and the criticizer, and, you know, is it allowing me to come out? So it comes out of hiding
Yeah.
to be seen.
Yeah, yeah. I only like, I think this has been a huge awakening in a sense that I'm seeing the other side.
What did you
I
call
think
it? It's been a,
it's like it is an awakening in the sense that I can see the other side of it. Like previously I was only seeing one side. Like I'm
what do
only
you mean other
seeing the
side of
side
what?
where I'm being criticized, right? Or where the other person is being defensive. But I see
Oh,
that
right.
maybe
Yeah.
I'm being judgmental.
Yeah.
That's the part that I wasn't seeing, like my own judgment, right? I'm not
Right.
seeing that. That's
Right.
the harder thing to see. I can see the other person being critical and defensive, um, but I don't see my own self being
Right.
like, hey, I'm the one who's judgmental here. Like I missed that part.
Yes. Yes. That's the shadow aspect, right? So
Hmm.
that's the part that we project the shadow. So then we feel like the world is judging me, but really it's I'm judging myself, but I'm projecting that unconsciousness,
Right.
right? So that's what people always say, like, oh, like, I'm afraid of what other people are going to think about me. But it's like what you think about yourself.
Hmm.
So then you're experiencing that.
Right.
Like I used to have a lot of like self-judgment and just like body shame and um just didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. Just so much like shame, like just when I was younger. And it was like, I don't know, up to however old you are, up until like basically like end of high school, dealing with like racism like my entire life. And it just felt like it was like following me around. I remember I used to think that like it was at one school, now it's at the next school, it's on this team, it's on that team. Like I used to play like every sport. And I'm like, I can't even I can't get away from this. It's everywhere. And then it was
Hmm.
just like seeing that, no, it's like actually like it's that I'm rejecting myself. I'm rejecting like my skin color, I'm rejecting my body, I'm rejecting like all of it. And then it was like seeing that, and then there's just that acceptance, not trying to change, the body, the appearance, not trying to restrict certain things. And then it was like the racism literally just disappeared. And it was like, that was when it was like, that was all like internal, that it was just projecting. But it was like, it was creating those experiences on like these sports teams, getting called this and that and all of this. It was just like, but it's all self-created.
Hmm.
It's funny because I had that, like, literally that thought, like, I can't get away from this, but it's like your shadow. You can't, no matter how far you run, it's following you. But the thing is, like, we project that shadow. The shadow is like referring to like the unconscious. You're projecting that unconscious. Used to work with people in business and same sort of thing. They'd have that kind of unconscious that deep down they really felt like a failure. So it creates these situations where they actually sabotage their success. They just
Hmm.
go out and just it's like things are lined up and then it's like they sabotage it because deep down there's that feeling of like being a failure. You're not good enough. You're not worth it. And it's like life just, it feels like it's just bringing you these experiences for you to experience that. So yeah, so the relationship is like, it brings up a lot of that. It brings up a lot of that type of stuff. So it's
Hmm.
like I said, if you change the mindset, but for a lot of people, that's um that awakening. If I had like a few people that say stuff like, oh my god, like all these thoughts and stuff, they're just like, they're shocked just the how dark some of it is. And it's like, yeah, but like, it's always been there, it's just you're identified with it. It's like you were asleep to that, but now you're aware of it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think some of the stuff that you said about this being that unconscious projection. Um, yeah, didn't see that before and kind of felt like I was going into this repetitive cycle of the same thing happening over and over again, and now I see it. But yeah,
Yeah, I've told you this before, like on another guidance, but it's helpful. Like this game that I used to play, um, I forget what the heck I called it. What I told you is basically anything that you see, find it in yourself. So even like, you're watching some show and you notice the character, say this or that, or the politics or your friends or people in your neighborhood, your work or whatever, is these patterns that you then are observing out there, find it in yourself because they're all within you. Don't the what the mind says is, it's out there, it's not in here. That's what creates that unawareness of the shadow, when you're blaming others for how you feel, and it's just this focus out there. So for a lot of people's in the on the journey, it's like now there's like a turning. Oh, all of
hmm
it's like all this inward. I just wasn't aware. So now you're then meeting all of that stuff, and that's where like the work is. That's what people call like shadow work. And that's like it's all the emotional stuff. And that's what can't be bypassed. You can't just like jump over that. Oh, there's nobody here, and it doesn't work like that. It doesn't
Well,
work.
it's harder to see it in yourself. I mean, for sure. It's just,
It starts with wanting to see it. Sure, it's hard to see it, but it's hard if you don't want to see it. If you're open to seeing it, then that's the first step. That's what like a lot of people um it's kind of like the bridge between like, I don't know, like personal development and like spirituality is this kind of just more and more openness. There's more and more courage. It's like what people like, it's like they get introduced to like the inner game. At first, it's always like, trying to just make this job and move up the rankings and all this stuff. But then there's this interest in how's everything working in here,
mhm.
and seeing that more and more. And it's a natural byproduct of that awakening, because then it's like it almost feels like, like a lot of people usually say stuff like there's the lights on now. I can see this stuff. Before I
Yeah,
wasn't able to see. So you're seeing more and
yeah,
more of
it
it.
definitely feels like that. You know,
Yeah.
seeing it more and more, it gets hard, and then you see it, and then it's like you zoom out, you zoom out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be hard. Like it's again like even like a lot of people that speak about shadow work and stuff. It doesn't have to be hard. It's literally just relax more and more, and this stuff just comes up. And in a relationship, it naturally comes up. It's just seeing that like don't blame your partner for everything. He's just pointing a finger. So then find it within yourself, feel it fully, and then it won't come up anymore. Because that's when like those aspects have been seen, accepted, and loved, is because they don't get triggered. If you still feel like, triggered, this is getting you, that's getting you, and you're like, oh, and your partner feels like they have to like walk on eggshells around you, watch what they say, then it's like, no, it's like a fragile ego. But the more of that work that you do, the more of that introspection and self-reflection, the more aware you are, the more that you process, there's a feeling that there's more inner healing. And then you just start having this experience where it's like someone says something, it's like, hmm, nothing moved in me. Usually something moves. Usually something doesn't want that. Something reacts. Something feels offended. Something feels, like they need to attack back. And this is what creates this, like more and more of this, what people would call like integration. Because you don't have this split. You don't have this like schism in yourself where parts of you are hiding from the other side of you.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I'm just starting to see that more and more.
Yeah. So it's just like I said, it's by just relaxing, these emotions just come up and just feel them fully. Because when you say that you lose yourself in the movie, that is 100% the always what happens with people. Like, oh, I had the awakening, I had the glimpse, but it's temporary, it's non-abiding. It's like a 1 or 2 day experience at most, and then they're back to the same way that they were before. And
Right, and it makes sense that, I mean, it doesn't, even if you have that experience, right, you feel like, that oneness around everywhere and everything. Um, well, I don't know how it happens to other people, but like, I would think that even if you did feel that oneness, um, at some point the identification would come back, and you need to do the cleansing work to fully establish, right?
yeah, yeah, because there's like these glimpses are nothing if they don't, like I said, it's like this, the life is the ultimate test here. Is if you're it's it's a total transformation. If there's just the realization and there's no the aha moment, the oh wow, oh, but there's no transformation, and these things are still coming up, and there's all this reactivity and anger, and you know all of it is just coming up. It's, you feel like you're losing that peace, you feel like where's the happiness. And no, that's what I call is like, it ultimately comes to us being established. You're living as truth.
Hmm.
It's not just about realizing.
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting because, I mean, I've read about other people's realization experiences, right? People talk about like Eckhart Tolle, right? He got his post out there about how he became self-realized one fine day, all of a sudden, being like majorly depressed, and then all of a sudden he's awakened. And then
Yeah,
there's other people like that too, right? Um, and you think it's going to be like that, but that's probably not.
yeah,
We
they
don't hear the
usually
other side of the story.
I feel like they
You don't
usually
hear the
leave out,
struggles.
they leave
You
out
just,
they leave out parts of the story though and stuff. Like I don't, someone actually, I only know a lot of this stuff because of how people ask questions. But I remember I did a video about it, and she said like, mentioned the Eckhart Tolle example, but she also mentioned that like he sat on some bench for like 3 or 4 years after the realization, because it takes, like I said, it's not like, and then you're you're like, established. For a lot, it's like, it's not like that. And there's just, it's a slow, gradual, sometimes even undetected, um to the point of like something, you know more profound. Some, it's like this flip-flopping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until that stabilizes. This kind of, I lost it, I got it, I lost it, I got it. Some, it's like, oh, I had an aha moment, and then maybe 2 weeks, and then I had another aha moment, and then another, there's more clarity, and then another one, there's even more clarity. It's kind of like this. Some, it's a huge opening, and then a closure, and it feels like you're just dropped in like the depths of hell, and you're, now it's like all of this unconscious stuff is just coming up. And then there's more suffering, because it's like you had a taste. So it's like, I want that. So now there's like, I don't want this any, I don't, the emotions, what is all this crap? No, no. I just want to get back to that heavenly experience. And that is suffering. rejecting this and wanting that, or the aversion to something and the clinging of the other.
Yeah.
Some it's this, the experience is the realization of the transcendent aspect, that there's two aspects. There's the imminent, right here, right now, this conversation, this is life, this meeting, this is it. But there's also that which is transcendent. So there's also a lot of this is more in like the later stages of coming to that realization of the transcendent. Then there's a clinging just to that. This doesn't matter. There's no family, there's no person, there's nothing to do, all of this. And meanwhile, they're sitting on all of this kind of these emotions that are coming out, and basically that they haven't been fully experienced. So it's like this ultimate bypass, because then there's a denial of the human experience. And they want to just, close their eyes and experience the transcendent state. So you can see there's still that duality. There's still a seeking for something and a resisting of another. So that one's pretty common too. But like I said, it can look all different types of ways. It don't get caught up in like how it is for others. Just whatever you're experiencing is, that's it. But yeah, these are good questions. Hopefully others can get some insights and see what we're talking about here. Maybe it's, well, let's just see, show of hands, is it relatable for anyone else? Yes, no, yeah. Yeah, see, so there you go. No
Super
worries,
relatable.
you're not alone. You're not alone.